There's been a ton of so-called Ethereum killers over the years. Avalanche, Solana, Cardano, you name it. But they've been punished this past bear market and have dropped way more than ETH has. So that begs the question, is it even worth trying to compete with ETH anymore? Well, normally I'd say no, but there is one project, Cosmos, that's taking a whole different approach, one that no one else has tried in the past. So if any blockchain were to ever catch ETH, then my bet would be on Cosmos. And to understand why, you gotta look at their special 4-part strategy. So let's start with part 1. Their unique design. Cosmos has a truly unique design, but don't just take my word for it. Here's Vitalik Buterin himself on a recent Bankless podcast.
I think the Cosmos ecosystem, for example, I deeply respect it because it is one of the few that's actually trying a very different region of design space.
You see, many blockchains have taken the easy path of copy and pasting Ethereum's codebase with a few minor tweaks. But Cosmos explores an entirely different design space, and that's what makes them a worthy competitor in my eyes. But just how is Cosmos different from the other blockchains out there? Well, I don't want to bore you with the nitty-gritty details, but here are some quick facts on how Cosmos is unique. So the first thing is that Cosmos is not even a layer 1 blockchain like most of the ETH killers out there. It's more like a layer 0 blockchain because its architecture looks like this. There's a bunch of zones, which are separate standalone blockchains, connected through a few central hubs. And Cosmos actually has its own hub called the Cosmos Hub, and it can connect Ethereum, Bitcoin, and a bunch of other layer 1 blockchains together. But in order for all these interconnected pieces to work, we need Cosmos's IBC, or Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol. That allows a whole network of Cosmos blockchains to seamlessly communicate with and transfer assets to one another. So IBC solves the problem of cross-chain bridges, where developers have to create a unique bridge every time two blockchains want to connect. That has some serious security flaws, as we've seen over the years. But with the IBC protocol, there's a set standard that everyone can use, so it greatly simplifies things and improves security as a result. But besides just architectural differences, Cosmos also has something special for developers called the Cosmos SDK, or Software Development Kit. Their SDK allows devs to focus on the high-level business logic of the applications they're building without having to worry about the low-level details. And it's so useful that some of the biggest blockchains out there were built using the Cosmos SDK, such as Binance Chain, Crypto.com's Kronos Chain, and Terra Luna before it collapsed. But there's one more thing about Cosmos that makes it unique, and that's their Tendermint consensus engine, which sits at the heart of Cosmos. You see, without Tendermint, there's no way the expansive Cosmos ecosystem could even function. Its Byzantine fault tolerant, or BFT design, is what allows all the independent chains to scale and interact in an efficient manner. So overall, because of all these features, Cosmos can truly say that it operates in a unique design space, one that supports an internet of blockchains, with each of them running their own unique applications. And that actually brings us to part 2 of their 4-part strategy, which I like to call the rise of the app chains. So an app chain is just a blockchain that's designed for a specific application or purpose, be it DeFi, social media, gaming, or whatever. Projects are drawn to app chains because they have a lot of advantages over general purpose blockchains. They can be optimized, customized, and scaled for their specific use case. They can also have their own rules, governance, and security models to suit their needs. But perhaps best of all, they don't have to share resources with other apps. So with all these benefits in mind, it's no surprise that major projects are choosing to become app chains. Take DYDX as an example. That's a decentralized exchange that allows users to trade perpetual futures. It was originally built on an Ethereum layer 2 network called StarkX. But in mid-2022, they announced that they were migrating over to Cosmos to become their own app chain. When I heard that, I was shocked. I was like, why in the world would they leave my favorite Ethereum ecosystem? They must be grifting. But now, many months later, it's starting to make a lot more sense. DYDX wanted to build the best product possible and offer the best user experience possible, and the team realized that they could only do that by becoming their own app chain. I think it makes perfect sense actually, and it'll likely bring even more value to their DYDX token, which people have criticized before for not having enough utility. Anyways, I think DYDX is a pioneer in what will become a large movement of app chains, most of which will be built on Cosmos. But guess what? All these projects becoming app chains means that there's going to be a lot more demand for liquidity across the whole Cosmos ecosystem. And fortunately, a tsunami of liquidity is about to come meet that demand, which is all thanks to part 3 of the 4-part strategy. But before we get there, a quick shout out to our video sponsor, Coincall. If you've ever wanted to trade options on Bitcoin or Ether, like we can at Robinhood, well, finally there's a platform that offers that. Yep, check this out. I'm looking at the Bitcoin options available, and you can even flip to their pro mode to see all the relevant details. I don't recommend you going all degen with it, but if you know what you're doing, or if you've checked out some of Coincall's free educational material, then this could be a great way to hedge your portfolio. But if you do decide to try them out, then use my referral link below to get a deposit and trading bonus like seen in this banner right here. Anyways, back to part 3 of Cosmos' strategy. So we all know that liquidity is what makes markets. And fortunately, there's been a couple of developments in Cosmos land that will give their liquidity a significant boost. For example, there's the liquid staking module that got approved in May. This makes it even more enticing to stake Atom because now they can free up their capital to do DeFi stuff while keeping their original token staked to secure the network. This is a big win for Cosmos as it could unlock billions of dollars in staked liquidity. But also there's a new app chain on Cosmos called Tenet that will let users restake out of ecosystem tokens like ETH, Sol, and Matic. So with all the added liquidity from restaking, Cosmos is truly in a position to flourish. It's not only that though, there's also some impactful developments from the stablecoin front that will increase liquidity. Like Cosmos used to not have its own native stablecoin, but that changed this summer with the launch of a new algorithmic stablecoin called Interstable Token, or IST. But if you don't trust algo stables and prefer fiat-backed ones, well, Cosmos now has those too. The Kava chain just went live with support for USDT, and Noble announced that it has teamed up with Circle to bring USDC over as well. Cosmos has long struggled with liquidity problems since the collapse of Terra's UST, but now that seems to be a thing of the past. Together with liquid staking, these major stablecoin additions are primed to boost liquidity across the whole Cosmos ecosystem. And you know what that means for the Atom token? Well, it means absolutely nothing actually. Yep, none of that would benefit the Atom token unless they also had part 4 of their 4-part strategy, which is a much needed tokenomics upgrade for Atom. In the past, one of the biggest criticisms of Cosmos is that while the tech is amazing, it doesn't accrue value to their Atom token. That's why even though Cosmos got quite a bit of adoption and activity during the last bull market, its Atom token lagged far behind its competitors. Fortunately, that could change real soon because the Cosmos team is aggressively pushing forward a new tokenomics upgrade. You may have heard about this already when the Cosmos 2.0 proposal was put up for a governance vote back in 2022. That proposal didn't pass though because the community wanted more clarity on the details. But the Cosmos team has not given up on their 2.0 vision. In fact, they've doubled down. They've created a DAO called the Atom Accelerator DAO, whose sole purpose is to develop initiatives for improving Atom's tokenomics. And that's in addition to the concrete plans already in place to strengthen the token's utility. For example, Cosmos is introducing a new security model called interchain security. And all those app chains that we were talking about earlier, well, they will be able to rent security from the Cosmos hub, thus increasing rewards paid out to Atom stakers. The Cosmos team also has proposed a reduction in the Atom issuance schedule to reduce token inflation. And it's expected that this proposal will pass the next time it's presented to the community, making the Atom token that much more valuable to hold. So with all these changes and more on the horizon, it finally looks like Atom will have its day in the spotlight. Anyways, I'm not lying to you when I say that I've always respected Cosmos just like Vitalik does. But now it looks like it finally has what it takes to get the recognition it deserves. Either way, I'll be honest, while I am super bullish on Cosmos, I also like Solana and Polygon. So if you want to hear my bullish cases for those, then just watch these video right here.